Welcome back. Today we are taking the 2026 Panigale V4 S out on the New York Twisties for a full ride and review, including comparing the stock exhaust to the savagery of the full Akrapovic race system. Get ready for your ears to be broken. If you like reviews that are up close and personal with the bike, showing every angle, nook, and cranny, while sharing facts you might not know, annihilate that subscribe button with all your might, and body slam that like button to help the algorithm. Let's do work.
Hey guys, it's Andrew here at Hudson Valley Motorcycles. Been in business since 1966, one of the top Ducati dealerships in the nation. We got him going out today on this Panigale V4 S, our demo ride. If you want to take it out yourself, give me a call and we can get you set up with an appointment.
I know, Ducati just killed off the single most iconic design feature of their flagship superbike. The single-sided swing arm, gone, replaced by a double-sided hollow symmetrical setup. We're not going to weep about it in this video. After all, Ducati didn't do this to offend heritage. They did it because lateral stiffness on the outgoing model was actually making human riders slower at lean. But we'll talk about more of that later. Let's address the core stats right out of the gate. Underneath that refined fairing sits the 1103cc Desmo Sedici Stradale 90-degree V4. European trim pushes 216 horsepower at 13,500 RPM and 89.5 pound-feet of torque at 11,250 RPM. The US market bikes land around 209 horsepower in street trim due to emissions calibrations. Thanks a lot, idiots. But bolt on the full Akrapovic titanium racing system and you are straddling an insane 235 plus horsepower bike that tracks call uncle. Wet weight without fuel drops down to right around 412 pounds. I mean, my love handle's way more than that. Anyway, now on paper those numbers look like a slight evolutionary step over the previous generation, but standard spec sheets don't reveal how that power actually reaches the pavement. Do they? No, they don't. Ducati completely revised the cam profiles, shortened the variable intake trumpets, and overhauled the cooling pack. The engine isn't just screaming at redline, the mid-range torque curve is significantly broader, making gear selection far more forgiving when tracking out of slow apexes. In terms of chassis flex and handling, here's the detail almost every quick review misses. Why did Ducati drop 37% of lateral stiffness out of the rear swing arm? Because it completely transforms how this bike handles when pushed to the limit. On older Panigales, when you leaned over past 50 degrees, the chassis was so rigid that every bump on the track translated directly to the rider. You had to fight the clip-ons to hold the line, and the rear tire would jump under power. Now, the turn-in is telepathic. Because the chassis and new swing arm flex laterally like a secondary suspension component, the bike tracks around apexes with zero mid-corner nervousness. You aren't constantly fighting line push or adjusting your body weight to keep it settled. While riding, I went into a bumpy corner that made me slightly nervous. Halfway through, I realized the bike was carrying me through the corner like it was AI controlled. I've never felt such confidence in a corner. It tips into tight chicane transitions notably faster, but the real magic is line correction. If you turn in late or need to tighten your line mid-corner to avoid traffic, you just look where you want to go, press the inside peg, and the chassis tucks right in without standing up under trail braking. It takes a bike that used to require physical wrestling and turns it into a precision instrument of cornering pleasure. But let's talk design language. Beyond the swing arm debate, the visual identity of the 2026 model has completely evolved. Centro Stile Ducati took inspiration from the legend itself, the 916, and blended it with modern aerodynamic efficiency. Notice that front fascia. The iconic dual headlight sockets are recessed deeper, giving it a sharper, meaner glare. But look at the winglets. Instead of looking like bolt-on aftermarket add-ons like previous years, the aerodynamic wings are now color-matched and fully integrated into the front fairing structure, and I think it looks hot. The side fairings feature cleaner, longer horizontal air extractors that pull engine heat away while reducing overall aerodynamic drag by 4%. Around back, the tail section is slimmer, sharper, and features a twin LED light signature that makes the rear end look like a stealth jet. Love it or hate it, it's one of the cleanest, most cohesive aerodynamic designs ever put on a road legal bike. When I and many people first saw this bike, I thought the prior model looked better. But this, like many other things, is a bike that grows on you. I now think it's much more beautiful than the prior Panigale, with the exception of the swing arm, of course. But this is a performance machine, and they have to improve performance, and they did. Would I still prefer the single-sided swing arm? No. This bike is so planted in corners, it feels so telepathic, I wouldn't go back. And I gotta say, it looks the part. It's one of the most beautiful bikes you can buy. If you disagree, sound off in the comments and tell me why. Let's talk about some hardware innovations. Up front, the 2026 V4 S is the launch pad for Brembo's new high-pure monoblock calipers. They replace the old stylemas. They're lighter, dissipate heat better under track abuse, and feature an asymmetric structural bridge that reduces lever deflection under panic braking. Pairing with those high-pure calipers is the Olin Smart EC 3.0 electronic suspension. Unlike older event-based systems that just guessed what the bike was doing based on throttle and brake positions, the EC 3.0 uses spool valve technology with wider adjustment ranges. It differentiates between mid-quarter bumps and chassis pitch under braking, adjusting compression and rebound damping in milliseconds. And it feels so good. Hudson Valley, New York has nice twisties, but they aren't in the best shape, euphemistically speaking. But the bike kept me confident and planted on every corner. Let's talk about the brains of this operation. Electronics have always been Ducati's superpower, but the 2026 introduces something called DVO, Ducati Vehicle Observer. A single standard 6-axis IMU measures pitch, roll, and yaw. DVO takes those physical readings and uses an algorithm created by Ducati Corse to estimate over 70 virtual parameters in real time. It calculates instant ground load, tire deformation, and exact tire slip angles. When wheelie control or traction control kicks in, it no longer feels like a hard ignition cut. It feels seamless. And then there's race ECBS. On track levels, when you pull the front brake lever, the system automatically applies up to 15% rear brake pressure even after you release the front lever to settle the chassis and trail brake deep into the turn. That is awesome if you didn't know. This bike is loaded with absolute bleeding edge tech like this. So what does this level of engineering cost you? Are you sitting down? Well, actually you should probably be laying down. The base model 2026 Panigale V4 starts at $27,795 US, and that's before a $1,300 destination charge. But if you want the V4 S we're reviewing today, complete with the electronics Olin Smart EC 3.0 suspension, forged aluminum wheels, and a lithium-ion battery, MSRP comes in at $37,695 in North America. Is it expensive? Unquestionably. But when you factor in that you are getting electronic suspension tech, monoblock Brembos, and software straight out of MotoGP, you are buying a turnkey track weapon that requires zero aftermarket upgrades to hunt down lap records. Ergonomically, the tank shape is wider at the top for thigh support during lean, and the heat ducts do a much better job keeping exhaust radiation off your legs during street riding. Sort of. I'll get to that later. The stock exhaust sounds decent. Have a listen. But the full Akrapovic race system sounds like a Tyrannosaur stuffed in a tin can. Making this video segment literally almost broke my ears. But it sounded savage, and it was worth the eardrum assault and battery. Let's talk pros and cons. Pros, literally everything. This bike pulls like a raging bull, and I've never felt so planted in a corner. The power is amazing across the power band. This bike is so powerful that you can feel yourself being thrown back with every twist of the throttle. Other pros, I mean, really they're only mostly pros. Cons, okay, of course the price of the V4 S is what you'd expect. Also, I did feel some heat between my legs during riding, but admittedly, it was like in the upper 80s during my time with this bike. And lastly, losing the single-sided swing arm hurts the traditional look for some, but the stopwatch and the chassis feedback don't lie. It's a solid performance improvement. The 2026 Panigale V4 S proves that performance isn't just about adding 10 more horsepower every 2 years. It's about mechanical flexibility, integrated aerodynamics, telemetry modeling, and making a 200 plus horsepower machine usable for non-MotoGP riders. Ducati has delivered that in spades this time with the best performing iteration of their Panigale to date. Drop a comment below. Is the $38,000 worth it for this level of technology, or would you prefer to stick with the previous generation's single-sided swing arm? Please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss out on more motorcycle madness. And always remember the motto, bark less, wag more, and always be kinder than necessary.